All right, Takeo Spikes, Washington County native, if I'm not mistaken, has this advice for the Georgia Bulldogs, Matt DeBerry. He says, what's important is Georgia cannot get bored with the process of what they do and what they've accomplished over the last 2 years. We've heard forever Nick Saban talk about the process. I think Takeo Spikes is exactly correct when he talks like that because this Georgia program, Matt, is, it's not a challenging schedule, but someone will challenge them.
Yeah, staying motivated. I mean, that's the whole thing. And it's hard to get motivated for Ball State and Tennessee Tech, UAB, right? And those are three of the first four games. But
Oh,
you got it.
Tennessee Martin, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. Same, same thing, whatever. But the point remains: how do you get up for those guys, right? You have to know the end goal, and that's to stay focused week in and week out. Practice, just try to get better. Practice and focus on you, and just make sure you're ready for South Carolina. Make sure you're ready for the Gators. Make sure you're ready for Ole Miss, who's coming to town. A lot of people that could be a trap game. Lane Kiffin knows what he's doing. He can score points. They've got a really good running back. Maybe, I mean, if they're not prepared for that game, that could get really, really close, even in Athens. And then got to make sure you're ready, playing your best for Tennessee, and that's at the end of the season. I don't know if it would help if that game were early on, but we're talking about one of the best, biggest games of the season, probably, if Tennessee plays the way a lot of people think. So it's just getting better week after week after week. But he's going to tell us every week, Ball State, they're pretty good. They've got some guys. They do a lot of things well, blah, blah, blah. But it's the player. The coaches are going to be motivated, right? We know that, but the players have to stay motivated. And I think the way they've recruited, they've got guys who love to compete and love to get better and love to work and want to win. So it might be a little easier, but yeah, the schedule's a little softer than in years past, but the coaches know what they have to do to keep this team motivated and hungry week in and week out.
Well, that's the challenge too, though, Matt, is can they do that? Because it's easy to say, oh, well, we're hungry, or I heard, I can't remember, people, everybody you can say whatever you want. It's really what you do. And I think that's where Takeo is exactly correct, which is, you know, the work has not changed. The work has not changed. The way you attack it is really an important thing. And right now, well, there's been a lot about what has happened not on the practice field at Georgia this off season. There's been a lot of self congratulation. There's been a lot of defense of Georgia by its fans and its head coach too, and its athletic department and everything. But the fact of the matter is, the challenge will still be there. I mean, Ohio State didn't just go away. Alabama's lurking around. Same thing with LSU, SC, whoever you want to lump in there, Michigan in there. I mean, how do you get suspended for 4 games as a coach? That is
Yeah.
amazing failure. But all of those things are there, and I do wonder, can these guys keep it right, or has Kirby built a machine that's on a track and the track just can't be moved? I think you can always move the tracks. Hey, right now is the time to pick up your monthly dog post subscription for the season. We've got a great deal for you right now. You sign up for monthly, you get our 2023 preview for free. You sign up for monthly, you get a 20% discount off of anything at Red Zone. You like this sweatshirt? Matt calls it ugly. I call it beautiful. You too can have this sweatshirt, which is Christmas in July, or any item at Red Zone, 20% off. That's basically the same value of what you're paying for the dog post subscription. We've already got this. This is the cost of a month of a dog post subscription. Getting this off at Red Zone, same thing. They are also going to send you a shirt in the packaging when you order. With all of that said, have you bought Double Dogs? Have you bought the 2023 preview? If you have, great. Here's how we're going to say thank you. You sign up for a monthly today, we're going to give you September for free. Take advantage of this while you can. We can't do this offer forever because I will be running out of magazines. I only have, hundreds left. So take it
Yeah.
from there.
Hey,
Matt, I don't. Go ahead, Matt. Were you saying
that was
something?
that was your best sales
I
pitch of
agree.
any of
I
the
did.
videos
That
that
was the
you've
best
done.
one.
You are
Well,
killing it. How you don't sign up after that is beyond me because
hey,
I thought you killed that one.
Yeah, that was the best one. But that is the third time I've done it. So
Uh,
that's where you kind of nail
let's
it in.
go.
Hey Matt, it's like Takeo's place. It's about the process,
Yeah,
which he's completely right.
yeah,
He's completely right. I used to hate getting up in the morning, running at 5:45. It was so miserable. But if you didn't do that, and we did it in October, if you didn't do that, there's no way you'd be ready. There's a particular type of shape you have to be in to play basketball, to play tennis, to play football. These are different levels of conditioning. That's what Georgia's going through right now. If they don't do the little stuff, if you don't have the right technique, the guy at Tennessee who's trying to make a name for himself will take advantage of you. I'll throw it to you after I say this. I watched the South Carolina Clemson game last night because it was on. South Carolina can beat Georgia if they play well. I'm just going to say
okay,
that. Now, I mean, Georgia maybe doesn't. Georgia maybe needs to help them a little bit. Clemson, I guess,
yeah.
helped Carolina. Carolina made a lot of mistakes in that game and still won. They threw an interception in the end zone. If Spencer Rattler's hot, that's going to be a challenging game for Georgia. That's their first real challenging game. You want to get ready for that game now, or do you want to wait till that week, till maybe that Wednesday? You got to do it all. You got to be ready now.
Yeah, as a former athlete, I can say this. You're either getting better or worse. Every
There
day
you go.
matters. You either get better tomorrow or you get a little bit worse. Not a lot, but it's a little better, a little worse every day. So you got to keep working. But going back to the schedule a little bit, I want to. Does Georgia need to face a little adversity for them to really become, hit their peak? Last year, they faced adversity, obviously, against Missouri, and I thought they were a much better team moving forward. That was a little bit of a wake up call. The beginning of the 21 season, they fought through adversity week one against Clemson, a team that at the time we thought was really good. It turns out they weren't exactly the number 5 team in the country or whatever they were ranked at the time. But I do think fighting through a little bit of adversity, maybe earlier in the season than later, is going to help this team to really focus in. But maybe that's South Carolina, where it's maybe a close game at half, and they say, okay, we're not exactly stomping them the way a lot of people think we can. Let's go out and finish the second half strong. And that's what they do, Dean. This is a 4-quarter team. They played their best in the second half when they need to. A lot of these games are over at the half. I'm starting to write half of my story at halftime because I know the game's over. But when it's a close game, like we saw against Ohio State, they were a great 3-quarter team all last year. But Georgia was a 4th-quarter team, and they showed it against Missouri, against Ohio State, and even in against TCU. And they left no doubt against LSU. They kept scoring and scoring, putting up 50 points. That's what this team does. So part of me thinks they might need to face a little adversity to become the team, their best version of themselves. But maybe South Carolina. I don't know when they'll face that. Maybe it's against Kentucky, but I do think at some point they need to face some adversity.
Well, they play. Look, I don't. They should not lose to South Carolina. But I'm just saying, if South Carolina can beat Clemson on the road, then they can beat Georgia on the road too. I don't think that Clemson's as good as Georgia is right now, but that's not the point. I mean, Carolina has enough of what you need to lose for Georgia to lose them. If Jake Fromm and Georgia in 19, a team that should have had a 12-0 season, can lose to South Carolina with like a quarterback that did not have functional quarterbacking skills, then you can lose. I don't. They got to go to Auburn. They got to go to Tennessee. They got to deal with South Carolina. They'll have to play the Gators. In terms of do they have to have adversity? Uh, you would that proves that you're capable of overcoming adversity. It doesn't necessarily. Adversity can come in different ways in a football season. We don't know if the starting quarterback will be the starting quarterback in game 6. That person could get injured. So there's everybody wants to celebrate overcoming adversity, but sometimes that's just taking a loss. And I'll tell you right now, Ryan and I were sitting there watching Kentucky Ole Miss that day at Shakespeare's in Columbia, Missouri. No one in that zip code had any notion that Georgia would have to grind out a 4th quarter win coming back from 10 down in the second half. You don't know. I don't. I guess I do think if you don't have adversity, your story of the season is kind of a boring one. The difference here, though, Matt, I think, is that Georgia has overcome it and shown that they can. I will say South Carolina did that a couple of times too last year. The Clemson game being a great example of it. But um, uh, Tennessee did as well, the Alabama game. Um, but there are, we don't know when this moment will come where the season will be on the line. So that's where you just have to be ready for the entire thing, which gets back to Takio's main point, which is you have to do all the little stuff now or you're not going to be
Yeah.
ready. Go ahead.
There's been a lot of talk about Georgia's easy cupcake schedule. I was looking at some SEC schedules earlier, I guess a couple of weeks ago, and I made a video about it. But if South Carolina beats North Carolina, they probably roll into Athens ranked. That
Yes,
would be a ranked win if Georgia wins that. If Kentucky beats Florida, I think there's a
which
chance they're 5-0
which they
heading into
should.
Athens,
Yeah.
which they should. They would be ranked. I think Georgia might play more ranked teams than people realize throughout the season. And this whole super easy schedule talk might dip down a little bit more. Ole Miss could, I don't know, I don't have their schedule memorized. I think Ole Miss is a good team that plays a really tough schedule. So I
Yeah.
think at that point in the season, they could be better than what their schedule indicates. We'll see if Missouri is better than I think. Tennessee should be ranked. I have them losing to Alabama, and that Kentucky game, I think, could be a toss-up. They could absolutely go up to Lexington and lose that game the week after Tuscaloosa. If they lose to
Yeah.
Alabama and they don't bring their A game the next week going up to Kentucky, they could drop that. But still, best case scenario, I think they only have one loss when Georgia comes to town. So that's probably a top 10 matchup. So at the end of the day, I think Georgia's schedule could look a little bit tougher than what people are saying it is right now.
Yeah, the 21 season was that way. You had Clemson, but then of course they played Kentucky, Arkansas, and Auburn back to back to back. Those were all ranked teams. Two of them were top 11 teams. So, and then Florida and Tennessee were not ranked that season for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Didn't mean that the either game was easy. They were relatively challenging, but they were done at the half. Look, this team probably should go 12-0 when they hit adversity. We don't know that, but um, it's going to be. I think if they handle what they're supposed to handle, they are used to having to deal with difficult times because they practice at Georgia.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Any one last thing? No.
You wrapped it up. I love the sweatshirt. That's
Thanks.
all. I got to give
All
me one of those.
right. Bye.